We're here in Berlin at the Block Show Europe, and we're here with Llew Claasen. Claasen, I must say, it sounds a bit Dutch, actually. Claasen.
Yeah, it's an Afrikaans surname, which does come from Dutch. Yeah, right.
All right. You're based in Cape Town and San Francisco, and actually you are an investor in blockchain startups, primarily.
Yeah, exactly that. So, we've been fortunate to be involved in a couple of the early winners in this space, and we continue to believe that it's important for you to get involved early on in these projects and give them the initial boost that they need.
Cool. And what is actually your instinct if you look at startups, or what's for your actually the defining aspect of a great startup?
So I think that we're always, since 2017, 2016, we've only been investing in technologies or startups that make use of blockchain technology. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's the one part of it. The other part is the ones that are most interesting are probably those that use technology to enable an application. Mm-hmm. So as much as it is interesting, and we have made investments into businesses that are developing protocols, mm-hmm. we also believe that enough value will be captured at the application level that some very interesting things can be done there.
And so you're investing in the protocols, but also, of course, in the applications. Maybe you have an example of a nice application, like a decentralized application, or?
Yeah, so the most obvious one for us is that Civic is a decentralized identity marketplace, and we've just recently redesigned the token economy there so that it enables you to effectively create a distributed autonomous organization that doesn't need arbitration, doesn't need central governance, doesn't even need oracles. And that gives us a good indication of like a really good use case for not just a decentralized business model, but also an application.
What can the future of Civic be? I mean, could it potentially actually replace identity management, or even, I don't know, fingerprint management?
Yeah, well, I think that the first and most obvious thing is that we have a problem right now where you can't reuse KYC information. And so it's a really, really obvious problem. And blockchain is an important technology to be able to enable that solution while still in the context of sort of these new regulations around privacy like GDPR.
All right. And maybe you have another example of a great application that you think has value for the future?
So I think that what is interesting is if you can create a self-contained economy. So for example, we invested in an augmented reality game called Augmentors, mm-hmm. and we issued its in-game currency on the blockchain, and we issued its creatures as well on the blockchain. So you effectively have fungible and non-fungible tokens that are a critical part of that game, and that game's going to launch in Q3.
Wow. Can you name, maybe say the name?
I'm sorry?
The name of the game?
Oh yeah, it's called Augmentors, and you can find it at augmentorsgame.com.
All right. And actually the whole aspect of, I didn't mention, but you're also with the Bitcoin Foundation. What's your role with the Bitcoin Foundation, actually?
Right, so I'm the executive director, and so I'm effectively running the Bitcoin Foundation and have been doing that for the past 2 years.
Wow. And what did you experience the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think that it's unfortunate that the foundation was dragged into the split that happened between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and I think that another way of looking at it is people that believed in big blocks versus small blocks, and I think that really had nothing to do with the function of the foundation, and it was really just unfortunate that the foundation was dragged into that. We're an advocacy platform. We believe very strongly in the future of Bitcoin and the role that it will play in this ecosystem. It doesn't have to be the only chain for it to be important. And I think that we continue to advocate with lawmakers, with regulators, with the media, with consumers around what is this technology, why is it useful, why should anybody care, how do you regulate it in a sensible way, and how do you better understand it? Because I think if people don't understand these technologies, they're more likely to have an adverse reaction to it. And so I think that what's happened this year in particular is that as much as we engage around Bitcoin specifically, we're also playing a more important role in terms of advocating in general for cryptocurrencies and the shared values that we all have across many different projects.
All right. So actually, the whole polarization discussion between Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, it doesn't help the whole ecosystem actually.
Exactly. Yeah, because people get so drawn into that it actually becomes quite difficult for us to take any kind of position on anything without attracting the other side. And I think that frankly it's not useful. It doesn't take us as an industry forward. And I think it's perfectly reasonable for people to disagree with each other on architecture. And it shouldn't become a philosophical issue.
Maybe the industry isn't big enough to have these, how do you say, internal conflicts.
I 100% agree with you. I think we have so much in common with each other that to focus on the things that are happening at the edges are really not useful to advancing the industry. And they, in fact, I think, create a situation where regulators latch onto the fact that we're fighting amongst ourselves rather than trying to genuinely create something constructive which is useful to everybody.
Yeah. Sounds good. So, and actually, how do you see the future of the Bitcoin itself? Of course, do you follow the Lightning Network?
Sure. Yeah. I think that all these technologies are super interesting. I'd love to see that it works. I mean, not technically, but in terms of will people actually adopt it? Will you get it implemented into wallets? Will it be a better solution to some of the other alternatives? I think no matter what happens at layer 2, you're going to find that Bitcoin is going to be a reserve currency. I think the question then just becomes, can you be a reserve currency and still be used as a medium of exchange at the same time? And whether or not we're gonna find that some other chains offer some, in different circumstances, offer utility that is not available in Bitcoin. But like I said, I think that there's always going to be a place for Bitcoin, and I think a very important role for Bitcoin, because we do need, if nothing else, we do need a reserve currency in crypto.
Okay, a few more questions, then we conclude. So you're still quite bullish on the Bitcoin. I mean, the markets are quite bearish now, but actually on the longer term, you're quite...
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of smart people that are working on Bitcoin, and I have no reason to believe that they're not working to advance the cause of offering sound money that is outside of the control of governments. And we mustn't forget, like, why was Bitcoin created in the first place? It was because, frankly, our financial system is a bit of a mess. And so, you know, Bitcoin doesn't have to solve, once again, it doesn't have to solve everybody's problems in order to be useful. The fact that it is that it cannot be regulated, the fact that it is decentralized, are in and of themselves very, very useful characteristics. And I think that if we take a slightly longer term view and we say, well, are we likely to see another correction from the fact that our financial system creates boom and bust cycles, then I think the answer is yes. And I think that the next time that we have that kind of dramatic market correction, we will have enough adoption in a currency like Bitcoin to pose a real alternative to people wanting to save money outside of the financial system.
Okay, sounds good. So actually the manipulation that is going on right now, you see it, the manipulation of the market, or do you believe in it?
Do I believe in the price?
Yeah, but also the price manipulation going on. Some people say there's price manipulation going on.
Yeah, I think that is going on. It really, really sucks, because I think that it gives, firstly, it doesn't allow the market to signal correctly, and I think that it's not useful for anybody. I hope that we can figure out who is manipulating the market and why they're manipulating the market, and better understand how to counteract that. But what I really don't want is for regulators to get involved.
Okay, to get involved. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. You're going to speak on stage later on, huh?
I spoke at 4:20.
Oh, at 4:20. Oh, just, okay. And you stay for tomorrow as well? Okay, no. Hopefully, maybe we chat some bit, and thank you very much.
Perfect, you're welcome. Okay. Thank you.